Hello and welcome to GoalNews.org Video Edition, June 17th, 2010. My name is Jim Wallace, Executive Director of Gun Owners Action League. Let's get right to the news. Big in the news again this week is House 4102, the Governor's Lawful Citizens Imprisonment Act, got a lot of action. As we know, last week the Judiciary Committee actually reported this bill out as ought not to pass, but there was supposedly some controversy surrounding that, in that the Senate chair claimed that 2 Senate votes were not counted in favor of the bill in the committee process. As a result, this week, the Massachusetts House of Representatives voted to recommit the bill back to the Judiciary Committee for another vote in the committee process. Quite shameful, actually, the whole process here, because the committee had 5 days to cast their votes, and supposedly there was some controversy. The House chair is saying no, the Senate chair is saying yes, so once again, we are basically stuck in a political do-over. The bill will go back to the committee for a revote, and we'll see what happens. But one of the things I want to talk about today, especially with the governor's bill, the one gun a month, or the Lawful Citizens Imprisonment Act, as we call it, is the fact that the governor says there's no tools in place to deal with the flow of illegal guns. Now, I want to run through these very quickly so we don't waste a lot of time today. But I do want to let you know there are 13 steps to lawfully purchase a handgun in Massachusetts once you actually get the license. And as our members know, getting a license in Massachusetts is no easy deal. But very quickly, those 13 steps are: an individual obviously must possess a license to carry. The handgun that is purchased must meet the Attorney General's regulations. The handguns must meet the requirement of Section 131M, which is high capacity and assault weapons laws. If the handgun is owned by a private citizen or a federally licensed dealer in another state, the handgun must be transferred to a licensed dealer in this state. The Massachusetts dealer must be licensed under 18 U.S.C. Code 923 of the federal laws and state law. Once in possession, the handgun and information must be recorded in the bound book of the dealer. The proposed Massachusetts buyer must then appear in person and present a valid license. The buyer must complete a federal form, ATF 4473, and answering about 17 different questions on that form. Their dealer must also fill out a state form, FA10, which contains information about the purchase. And if more than one handgun is purchased in a 5-day period from a licensed dealer, the dealer must, by close of business on the second sale, notify the ATF through form called 3310, which is a multiple sales form. Then the dealer must conduct a background check and the proposed buyer go through the National Instant Check System. If the dealer is equipped with the new Massachusetts Instant Record Check System, they may have to have their fingerprint scanned or at least put a PIN number in the system. If all checks have passed, the dealer must then instruct the buyer on the safe use operation of the firearm and provide a tamper-resistant mechanical locking device approved by the state police. If all of these items are covered, then the sale may take place. So it is not easy to purchase a handgun in Massachusetts, let alone get a license. But I also want to address the fact that the governor said there are actually no tools in place to deal with the flow of illegal guns. And anyone who has looked at the gun laws in Massachusetts knows that is simply not the case. And I want to go through some of those with you very briefly. What I'll talk about is the law, the subject matter, and then a very brief description on what the penalties are. Chapter 140, Section 122 is the firearms dealer's license. Penalties up to 2 years in jail for not following that law correctly. Conditions of dealer license and gun sales in Massachusetts, far too lengthy to post, but the site is Chapter 140, Section 123. Again, Chapter 140, Section 125, dealer revocations. Anytime laws are not passed, dealers' licenses can be revoked. Chapter 140, Section 129, providing fictitious name when purchasing. Huge penalties up to 5 years in state prison. Chapter 140, Section 130, sale or furnishing of weapons, ammunition to certain persons. Again, severe penalties, up to 10 years in state prison. Unlawful carrying of firearms, Section 131C. Again, severe fines as far as penalties goes. Also 131E. Now here's the big one. This is the one that already has straw purchase violations in state law. Any person uses said license to carry firearms to basically provide firearms to someone who is not licensed or is disqualified can face imprisonment of 2.5 years to 10 years in state prison. The law already exists. 131H, possession of firearms by aliens. Again, 6 months in jail. Falsifying a firearm license identification card. Huge penalties for that, just for falsifying the card itself, not actually buying anything with it. 131L, the storage laws. Massive fines and up to 10 years in prison for not storing guns properly. The unlawful possession of assault weapons law, Section 131M, $5,000 to $15,000 fine, imprisonment of not less than 5 years, no more than 15 years. 131N, possession of covert weapons, steep fines, $5,000 to $15,000 and 15 years in prison. Chapter 269, Section 10, carrying of dangerous weapons, is just simply too long to even summarize. However, it is up on the Goal website. Chapter 269-10E, again, this is another key one for the one gun a month bill, because this is the law that exists to provide severe punishments for multiple gun sales in a 1 year time span. As a matter of fact, if somebody unlawfully transfers, sells, or whatever, more than 20 guns in a 1 year period, doesn't even have to be all at once, they can actually go to prison for life. For life. So that's not exactly a cheap thing to do. The BTAFE Form 3310, by the way, is the multiple sales form I talked about in the list of things you need to do to buy a handgun. And this is federal law. So if people are buying multiple handguns in Massachusetts, the feds already know about it. Also, this report can be found on Gold's legislative page. It's quite extensive. I really urge everybody to look at it, and when you hear from people that there are no tools in place to deal with the flow of illegal guns, please print out a copy of this and hand it to somebody who doesn't realize what's already in place. After all this is done, we really need to focus on Gold's bill, House 2259, the Civil Rights and Public Safety Act. Right now, the governor and his supporters are basically using the crimes in Boston to provide more gun control laws in the state of Massachusetts. One thing we don't need is more gun control laws. What we need is solutions to civil rights and public safety needs. And if you need more information about our bill that will provide solutions to these issues, please go to massgunlawreform.com. That'll do it for today. GoalNews.org, video edition, June 17th, 2010. I know this one was fast and furious, but we wanted to get you a lot of information. We'll see you next week.